France to me is totally horrifying. I mean, France has its first round of its election on Sunday. There is one, to my mind, sensible, rather inexperienced but sensible candidate, Emmanuel Macron, who is 39 years old. He's kind of
but not very well known.
Not well known. I mean, he's sort of the French version of Matteo Renzi, who was the great hope for reform in Italy and then fizzled out a bit. Some people have compared him to Tony Blair, a kind of, articulate centrist. Macron is a former Rothschild banker, so he knows a bit about finance, but that doesn't go down so well in the French electorate. Anyway, the point is, he might get a quarter of the vote. The rest of the vote is going to be split amongst a group of people who really, in some cases, are beyond the pale. So, the least bad one is, the classic conservative Fillon, François Fillon. His problem is that he's accused, rather credibly, I think, of having funneled almost $1 million to his family for jobs they did not do. Not a good thing, but he's actually the best of the bunch.
No,
because the other
he's
two...
accused of that. Is there any proof?
I think he's formally charged of that. So, I mean, there isn't proof. You're right to point that out. But, when his own supporters have told him, you should pull out of the race because there is this big cloud over your head, his answer is, France is greater than my mistakes. Doesn't sound like a very passionate denial. My assumption is that there may be fire with that smoke. But in any event, he's the least problematic. But the other two include, Marine Le Pen, the far-right populist who would like to pull France out of the euro and out of the European Union, even though she would need the support of the French Parliament, the National Assembly, to call a referendum, and she wouldn't probably get that. She could still create enough trouble to fundamentally destabilize the Eurozone. And then on the other hand, you've got Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who is a kind of Hugo Chavez type communist, who doesn't fool around. When you talk about confiscatory tax, I mean, his suggested rate at the margin is 100%. So it takes all hyperbole out of the expression confiscatory tax. He wants to further restrict the French work week. He wants to regulate everything more. He is a really bad news, for a country that's been foundering and which has a government budget deficit which is adding to the debt to GDP ratio every year because it exceeds nominal GDP growth. The last thing France needs is a hardline status like Mélenchon. So 3/4 of the votes are going to go to people who are fundamentally unappealing. It's possible that Macron scrapes through into the second round, and then you have this runoff on May the 7th, and then he wins. Mm-hmm. So that probably is the most likely. Let's give it a 2/3 chance. It may be the most likely, but when one says there's a 2 in 3 chance of Macron, it means there's a 1 in 3 chance of a really terrible outcome. And that, that's a big tail risk for European cohesion, for NATO cohesion, and for the general stability. I mean, Italy would go next. So I'm quite pessimistic about the cohesion of the Eurozone.